You better believe it's a serious battle between the producer mindset and the consumer mindset. Let me lay it out for y'all today. A lot of people have what I call desire. They want to be a business person, but they don't have the passion or the courage because there is a world of difference between a producer mindset and a consumer mindset. Let me break it down for you. You may have a business, but if you are looking at, I have this business every Friday, I gotta have a check, I gotta make this, even though you have a business, you have a consumer mindset. You're not looking at the big picture. Producers versus consumers. Consumers get a regular check, go out and buy stuff, and hopefully have enough money to pay for all the wants, needs, and desires. And a lot of times it doesn't work out. Whereas a producer mindset is you're going to create the funds to live the life that you want with the recognition that it's not an overnight process. If you look at who controls the world, producers. What is a producer? Just to be real clear, a producer is someone that generates a service, an ideal, jobs, essentially move the economy. Those are producers. If you have an ideal that you pull out of your head and thrust into the world, and that ideal generates things that people want, buy, or need, you're a producer. If you continue to do this, you're a long-term producer. If you're not doing any of this, you're a consumer. Now let's take away the labels of good or bad. That doesn't apply. That has nothing to do with it. Nothing at all. The real deal is conditioning this area up here. This right here is the reason you have everything in your life, and it's also the same reason you don't have the things you want. It's your mindset. I mean, seriously, it makes a huge difference on the way that you look at things. Because years ago, it scared the shit out of me to actually be in a situation where I didn't get a weekly paycheck. I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. How do you live without a check? And then the thing is, it's those words. I need a weekly paycheck. No, you need consistent income. World of difference between a check and income. A lot of people think it's the same thing. Income is you sold, say you have some chairs, you sold the chairs, you had some stuff in your garage, you sold that. Then at the end of the day, you had $400 or $500. You just had some income. That's money that you can spend. That's income. It's that simple. Everyone's thinking of, if I have a business, it's got to be huge. It's got to be large. It's got to be all this stuff that really no. Every business from Apple, Hewitt Packard, some of these industrial giants started off very, very small. Everyone has to be born. And with birth comes growth. We live in a society that, okay, I'm ready for it. Where it is. You remember that commercial where the fat guy was on the scale and he ran around the gym a few times? Then like maybe a minute later, he got on the scale and he hit it because he expected to lose weight that quick. It's a silly comparison, but many people have that type of mindset. That success should be an instant formula. I want, I do equals the desired results. Let me give you another formula. Hard work, passion, more hard work, long hours, consistent effort. Yeah, this is a jacked up equation. And that may equal success. Yeah, it's may. There is a certain degree of risk being a producer. There are no guarantees. And you should be thankful. I know you're going, he's crazy. No, this is the deal. If you put forth, let's see, 50 points of effort with 50 points of desire and got the 100 points of whatever you wanted, that sounds like a good thing. It's not. This is why, if things were fair, you'd be screwed. Take Apple. Apple came out, 50 points of innovation, 50 points of design, and they created an iPod. The rewards from that 50 points that equal to 100 points were totally out of proportion to the effort that went in. That's what happens when you're a producer. Sometimes you actually hit, oh, it's going, it's gone, a home run. Whereas if everything was equal and fair, you would never, ever, ever hit a home run. It would never happen. Ever. So forget about that fair crap. That fair crap where everybody that works at the same level of, puts in the same amount of effort and works really hard and yield the same results. I don't want to be part of that equitable society. I'm sorry. I don't. I don't. Because if I was a part of that equitable society when I was in the storage auction business, I wouldn't have had those big hits. It wouldn't have happened. So, you know, a lot of people look at life's not fair as a bitch when really it's a blessing. Because you can get all types of rewards totally out of proportion to your effort if you're in the right place at the right time as a producer. This will never happen as a consumer. You might get lucky and get a deal, or you might bid a lot of stuff really cheap, but I have a mindset of abundance. I think you should manage the money you have very well, and I think you should work really hard at making more money. So by doing these two things, you can generate wealth. You have a lot of folks who are trying to save their way to wealth, that scrimp and save and live a life of just being super, super frugal. That makes no sense to me when there's other ways to do it. Give you an example. Say you want a Bentley, which is an extremely outrageous outlay of cash to me. To me, access wouldn't do it. It's just, it makes no sense to me where I'm at mentally. It just doesn't. If I won the lottery tomorrow and I got $100 jillion, I still would not go out and buy a Bentley. I would probably go out and get like a 1985 Rolls Royce because it's a beautiful car. You know, those things appeal to me. But back to the example. If you want that, it's cool. Now, if you go ahead and jack your credit up or super extend yourself, where that you to get that Bentley, you're a damn fool. Now, if you build a business and you create income that takes care of the family, takes care of all the needs, and you've got the loot to do it, have at it. You know, I'm not mad at you. It's just I'm mad at the way that people go out and get this stuff because they do it by hook, crook, and by their fingernails. I mean, they're just like barely doing it. And to me, that's just nonsense to ride around in a seriously depreciating asset just to flex and floss. That's crazy. But if you got it like that, it's no big thing. You're not struggling. But once again, the people you see with these type of tools, toys, whatever you want to call them, are producers. You have to plant something to grow something. I started this in 2009. And the reason I'm doing this video is to let you know what happens when you plant seeds. I started this channel August 6, 2009. My expectations at that point were to make 20, 30 videos. That's how I had it mapped out. 20, 30 videos. I was going to put the book out, then I was going to jump to writing the fiction stuff. And boom, it blew up. The TV shows came on. Everybody in America started talking about the storage auctions, Storage Wars, Auction Hunters, this new show, something, Storage Wars or Storage something. All these shows came on. And then, you know, there was this huge wave of attention brought to the business. And my shit just went straight vertical. It was just a trip. But the thing is, none of this would have happened if I didn't plant the seed. If I didn't spend 8, 9, 10 hours a day writing a book, working on it, making any mistakes. But see, the whole thing is, this was not instant success because, I saw kind of, comments like Lyndon making a lot of money, and, you see that, but you forget that when I started this, there were no storage auction blogs. Dan Dotson and a few other people were the only folks on YouTube with videos about storage auctions. It was a handful of people. There were people who laughed at my earlier videos. Oh, you going through people's stuff? Ha ha ha. What, you buying people's dirty drawers? Ha ha ha. Now some of those same people are like, dude, can you put me on? This is what happens when you're a producer. This is not about me being successful. This is about you starting something. And I've said it once, I'll say it again. It doesn't have to be storage auctions. It doesn't have to be picking. It can be anything you want, but the thing is, you have to start with the right mindset. You have to let the consumer mindset go. The consumer mindset is, I give X amount of hours of my life for X amount of dollars in my paycheck. You've got to let that go. You're never going to have the life you really want unless your paycheck is huge. And let's just be honest about it. 90% of the people in this country have not had a raise in the last 10 years, if you factor in the cost of living. Think about that. 90%. There are physicians who are included in the 90% because all doctors don't make serious bank. Pediatricians, internal medicine, a lot of these people are banding together or bailing out or doing something else or going to teaching because it's so rough. When you hear these high salaries, it's the specialist. It's the guy that when, Michael Vick falls down and it's like, hey, that guy they're calling, he's the one making the long money because he's a specialist and he's damn good and he flies all over the country doing whatever he needs to do. Or they fly the patient to him. Those are the guys making the killer medical money. Attorneys are sucking wind. This is the first year that, since they started keeping records, that a great many law school graduates are not employed in the field of law. They included all employment figures, including the guy who has a law degree that's working at the Quick Trip, to pluff it up, because really if they just went straight law, it's looking pretty bad. So understand, you got to produce something, an ideal, a book, a business, a service. That is where the money is. As long as you are a consumer, you are fucked. Yes, Glendon's using the F word again, just to get that emphasis spot. As long as you're a consumer, you are fucked. Because essentially what you do is you put yourself in a castle. And when you're in the castle, you don't get intel and you don't know what's going on because you're like, I'm the consumer. My credit card, blah, 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 blah. And you're taking your income and you're buying stuff. And really, you're missing out because if you were a producer, and I'll put this out, a lot of the stuff I own, except for recent purchases, I got either out of a storage unit or wholesale, which made my producer dollars go even further. Are you listening to me? Being a producer is where the money, the savings, the good life is. Understand, the beginning, and I will quantify the beginning as the first 2 to 5 years, are rocky as hell when you start a business. You will have periods of times where your employees might be making more money than you. That's the reality. You'll have times when all you have is 2 shillings, 2 little coins to rub together while everyone else has dollars. That is the reality of being a business owner. However, if you spend those 2 to 5 years building the business, stacking the foundation, managing your financials, if you build the right kind of business, 5 years, 6 years, you could be all over town while your business is making money for you. While you're having lunch, your business is making money for you. While you are on a date, your business is making money for you. While you're in London, your business is making money for you. It can't make money for you if you don't take the time to build it. And understand, it takes time to build a business. That's why a true hustler knows this stuff. It's not a cakewalk. It's not easy. but everyone can do it. And speaking of cake, one of the hottest businesses right now, which is crazy, are cupcakes. I'm serious. Low cost to start up one. And that's something you can start up in your kitchen tomorrow. And I'm going to give you the quick business plan. You go out, you're like, hey, my name's Jenny and I make cupcakes. You make up a batch of cupcakes, like, 100. And what you do is you go and you put up some business cards and you go around in that first 100 batch, you give them away for free. Yeah, you do that. You give them away for free. And then out of that first 100, there's going to be 2 to 10 people like, hey, I like these cupcakes enough that I actually pay for them. That's right. 89% are saying, thanks for the free cupcake. See you. Deuces. Then guess what? You do it again. Okay, the second round, now you have 20 people who are paying you for the cupcakes. Then you do it again. And by the 10th round, which is going to take a few months, you've got 100 paying customers for a business you can run out of your house that can make you $2 to $4 grand a month. I mean, that's the producer mindset, because you actually, when you build a business, you know what it takes to build a business. You know that if you keep doing it, the money will come. Most people bail out because they have the consumer mindset. I want to buy some stuff. I want that paycheck. I gotta have it. I gotta have it. I gotta have it. I gotta have it. There's no time to actually build anything because you are screwing up your money. You're spending your money like your big meech, blowing money fast. And you blow the money fast and you get addicted to spending, then you want more money. Then you blow some more and you want some more. So you can never really build anything because your checking account is like a lunch pad. Money comes in and it's out for a bill or whatever. As a producer, you get to the point where you're so busy producing, your money does this. Stack, 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 stack. Because your focus is elsewhere. That's another reason the consumer mindset is dangerous, because you predicate your happiness on spending money all of the time. You can't even see your life. I mean, this is really a good test for you to see if you are a total consumer. Take 1 week, go to the grocery store and buy enough food for that week, fill your car up on the Saturday, and from Sunday to Sunday, your goal is not to spend 1 penny. You're going to take your lunch to work. You're going to eat all your meals at home. You're not going to the movies. You're not buying any clothes. For 1 week, you're not going to spend 1 dime. Many of you can't do it. You're going to start itching like you need a fix. Like you're, tie me off. I got it. I'm serious. That's your test. If you can't make it 1 week, you know you got it. You got it, man. You got it. And you need to do something about it, because as long as you're driven by your consumer mindset to always spend what you have as soon as you get it, you'll never be able to build a business unless you just get really lucky or win the lottery. I'm serious. It's never going to happen. It's not about how much money you make. It's about how you look at money. Money is not power. Intellect is power. Money is a tool and is only as good as the intellect behind the money. I've had several stories of people who bought my first book, which was jacked up, had a lot of errors, tons of errors. I would take ownership of my screw-ups. Some of these guys are making 5, 6, 7, 8 grand a month, and they spent the $19.95 for that first book. And I really believe, since their backs were against the wall, and it was like, I need to make something happen, that's why they're successful. They had no choice but to be successful. Didn't have a lot of money. But they took time. I've got one guy, he sent me an email today of his store, with a picture of his store. This guy, he and his wife were like about to be foreclosed on. You're about to be foreclosed on 2 years ago. He now has a store. And it's not all lovely and wonderful, and they're not making like billions of dollars, But the thing is, he told me, he said, every day's a struggle. But he said, I went from having absolutely no money to actually starting a business, catching up my mortgage, paying my bills, and my wife helps me with the business, but for the most part, she stays home with the kids. He said, I couldn't have did this without your book. And I'm like, when I get stuff like that, it gives me chills because, I talk a lot of shit, but when you put out something, being a producer that helps people, that's some awesome shit. That is some awesome shit, and he's not coming he's like, it's winter and I need to buy and I only have X amount of dollars, but he said, I am making it. And before I got your book, I was ass out. He said, we were going to be foreclosed on, going to have to move in with her parents. He's like, I didn't feel like a man because I could not support my family. And, he's giving me way too much credit because all I did was write a book, but he did all the hard work. He and his wife, they did all the hard work. But now they're producers. Do you get that? 2 years ago, we're talking foreclosure, and now we have a store in their town, and they're becoming a point of reference for everyone in town because they have to travel. I'm not going to tell you where they are, but they have to travel, and they bring the stuff back in, and he says every week the sales figures go up. And I told him, what's going to happen is when you hit that magic number on repeat customers, you're going to see some very steady income. It's going to get very easy because you're putting in the hard work now. That's how business works. So take a moment and, I guarantee you, take the week challenge of spending no money. Some of you are going to be able to do it, but many of you are going to find it extremely challenging because spending money is a habit. It's not necessary. It is a habit that you've developed that is very hard to eradicate. And you really need to start working on that. Then you can move to the producer side because the producer side is beautiful. You can spin off ideas, you can figure out ways to make money, you can do stuff, you can help people. But as long as you're just a consumer, you're going to be a slave to your desires. And it's going to be very hard for you to adopt some of the principles of the hustler mindset and have a better life. That's the facts. That's the facts. Hate me if I drop the truth on you, but those are the facts. Because as long as you keep doing the same shit today that you did yesterday and will do this shit tomorrow, your life is not going to change. Not one iota. Except your depression level may deepen. Alright. Just something for you to chew on. This is Glendon with Making Money with Storage Unit Auction.